I mean, I had been in counseling for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, and specifically childhood sexual trauma. And so, like, that left me with like flashbacks, intrusive thoughts, this like very visceral experience. After just one session, the memory was gone. Like, I didn't feel it in the same way.
I tell people, if it's not working for you, it's not your medicine.
I remember driving home from that and I was so happy. Like, I felt freedom, but it changed my philosophy.
When EMDR is someone's medicine, it works so fast and so effectively.
This is All the Things with Michelle Wolfe.
All right, welcome to All the Things with Michelle Wolfe. Today, I am joined by Erin Valente. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in EMDR. Thank you, Erin, for joining me today. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you because I have experienced EMDR myself, so I know the benefits of it, but I'm excited to hear about how you use that in your practice.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So I some people will come to me specifically for EMDR, like they have one thing that maybe even they've been working on in therapy that just isn't moving, and so they'll come with that specific thing. Or if I'm working with a client and we keep butting up against this one thing that's not shifting or changing, or they have a deep understanding of it, but they can't act in any different way around it, that's when we bring in the EMDR.
And so can you explain for those who don't know what EMDR is, what that actually stands for and what it does?
It's eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And really what it is, it's a different modality of therapy, and it's a way to reprocess a traumatic moment in time that allows you to have a different understanding of it and a different experience of it. So it doesn't stick to you in the same way, and it doesn't, you're not repeating the same story, the same pattern, the same behavior.
And that's how you described it. I mean, I had been in counseling for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, like processing, childhood trauma, and specifically childhood sexual trauma. And so, like, that left me with, like, flashbacks, intrusive thoughts. And so, after going to counseling for years, talking through things, like feeling like I had gotten to such a better place within myself. So, why am I still having this like experience, this like very visceral experience where like the memory, the flashback will come up, and it's like, that happens. Your brain, you're reliving it somatically. And so I was introduced to EMDR. And I mean, after just one session, I left that session and it wasn't, I always say, like, it wasn't like the memory was gone,
Yeah.
but the experience of it, like, was no longer, like, I didn't feel it in the same way, you know?
Yeah. I hear clients say that all the time, and people will say something similar of like, I mean, I know it happened. It's not like it took it away, but it feels further away, or almost like as
Yes.
if I were to see something on TV that's upsetting and, of course, like heartbreaking, but it doesn't affect me in the same way.
Yeah, like the trigger was taken away. So yeah, and what I also loved about EMDR was that, like, my counselor referred to it, like, you kind of like, it's like in the same vein. So like I then did EMDR on like another theme or like another topic, and it was interesting because it was like, I went there because there was this like one thing that I kept revisiting that I was trying to like understand, but it actually took me to other places that I didn't realize were connected, like whether it was the same theme. And
Yeah.
it just helped me to like process other stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I also remind people in the same way is that you can go in on something, and because sometimes people will come in with like multiple things that they want to hit. And I remind that sometimes you go in on the one thing and it actually clears a bunch of
Yes.
other things, and that maybe that you were aware of or you weren't aware of. And it's just, again, it's so interesting how the mind and the body and soul sort of interact when something traumatic happens, or even when something joyful happens, and how that lands in our psyche and affects how we interact with the world and ourselves.
And it actually made me, I feel like it made me a better parent because like now I understand, when my children go through things, like I understand the importance of helping them process that experience in real time, but also as it comes up again later. It's like, I was using this example. I was talking to somebody today and I was saying when my son was like 4 years old, somebody rear-ended my car. And
Mm.
so like after that experience, my little 4-year-old, like he would talk about, oh, our car got bumped and he would, the police showed up. And so like however long he needed to process that experience, like I just helped him, like I listened. But that like understanding of that really came from my experience with EMDR and like how important it is even just to listen, to like hold space, but give somebody the opportunity to like talk about their experience, to like be able to work through it, especially a child.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also being able to help them experience it from a place of resilience
Yes.
versus because a lot of the time people, if someone goes through something really traumatic, you want to go, well, what happened?
Right.
Tell me what happened. And that actually re-traumatizes the body and it can also sort of cement that traumatic memory in versus this is what I think is so amazing about children. Your son mentioned, well, the police came, right? And for him, he probably felt really safe that the policeman came. And so to me, if someone's telling me the story from a resilient place like that, like your son was, I'm like, oh, that's a memory that's not gonna like stay and land and make you feel
Yes.
unsafe in life. Yeah.
Right. And like when he did, I was like, they did and they helped us. And like I kind of like helped him like sort of move beyond it without like asking him to suppress it in any way, like, we and there's been other things since then, that we've been able to like process together out loud where it's like you're giving them the opportunity to move through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's been really, I mean, I would say it's a beautiful opportunity, like even for myself to, we can talk about like inner child healing, like to be there with my inner child who went through, or my inner adolescent, who went through whatever. And to show up as like I call it like my wise adult self, right? Like
Mhm.
to show up and like help that part of me integrate.
Yeah. And even that practice, right, where like checking in on the child or the teenage or the adult, right? It's also a practice for us to know that we may need different things at different times and still be a whole connected person. And
Hmm.
that's okay. And how to even decipher what it is we're needing.
So in your private practice, and you said you're licensed marriage and family, so you work with couples and individuals.
Yeah, I do individuals and couples. So, marriage and family therapist, the way the license works is that it's a relational therapist. So that can mean
Yeah.
relation with other people or yourself.
Okay. Oh, I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, do you ever use EMDR like is that just an individualized thing or can that be done like together?
I do it individually. Sometimes when one person is needing a little bit more extra support, what I'll do, the way that I integrate a couple into it is I have the other person be a witness or hold
Mhm.
space for their experience because that's still couples work. So I might do EMDR and the partners watching how I hold space or what questions I might ask. And again, even just being a witness to your partner creates such a deep connection between the two of them.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, because I mean that's just such deep work and it takes, I think, deep space holding and a lot of trust.
Mhm.
But that's a beautiful invitation, I think, for deepening intimacy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you, does this also, like, does this get into parts work for you at all?
It can, right? And because when I think about parts work, IFS, which is internal family systems, has sort of made it an actual modality, but I guess parts work is something that I've always done, right? It could be the scared part. It could be the child part. It could be the teenage part. It could be a part that we make up, right? Like we created an entirely new character. And again, it's a way of checking in with all these different things happening in our body at the
Mhm.
same time. But the EMDR that I do, I use attachment based. And with attachment based, we actually create this team, this support team. Again, and these things are within you. So it's another way of interacting with these different parts that we don't usually
Right.
have access to.
Yeah, I mean, like listening to you describe it, it sounds like akin to that, where it's like you're accessing these different parts. Tell me more about the team, because that's
Yeah.
kind of different than the container. I call it the container, but that's kind of how it was presented to me when we created that safe space.
Yeah. So there are different styles of EMDR. So with mine, you create this resource team. So there's the protector, there's the nurturing figure, and then there's the wise and spiritual figure. So the wise and spiritual figure will be able to answer any question that you have that comes up. They're someone you can trust that they will have the wisdom if you need it. The protector obviously will create any type of physical protection you need. And then the nurturing figure is someone who's going to nurture you and nurture your emotional safety in that moment. Because when you're doing EMDR, you're going into a really painful moment in time. And again, because we don't want to re-traumatize you, you have to have a different resource while you're in that memory so that you have a different experience and we can create that type of healing. And so the resource team and the calm place, which is very common with EMDR, is how we do that.
Okay. I like that approach.
Mhm.
Mine was a little bit different. It was like the calm place, like you described, like, but you kind of like visualize this place. And then I also visualized like an actual container
Mhm.
and like, there's these things in the container and I get why. Like that was to say that like this goes in the container and it doesn't come out, then
Yeah.
it's not. And I remember that part of at the time I was trying to decide, like, because some of my trauma happened to me before I was verbal.
Mm.
So, and I was trying to decide if I needed to do like a regression hypnosis. And
Mm.
so we ended up doing EMDR instead. And it was exactly what I needed. I'm glad that I didn't feel like I needed to go further into like the regression and try to like revisit it in that way.
Yeah.
But it is challenging when you have things that happen to you at a time where like you can't remember all the pieces. And
Yeah.
so your mind is like trying to problem solve and like put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah.
And that's not always necessary.
Yeah, and I remind people that when you don't remember, it was also your mind trying to protect you.
Mhm.
So trying to go in and find all the answers is sort of like the opposite. It's like your body's going like, this is not going to serve you.
Mhm.
But as you probably already know, your body remembers everything.
Yes.
It doesn't need to know the details. It's already here. And so that's why EMDR is so great because we're going sort of to root cause in the healing versus I would imagine, look, I'm not a hypnosis specialist or anything, but I think it gets you to the memory.
Right. And it was that at that time, because like my sort of way of thinking about this was if I could just know what happened, then I could heal. Right. And so
Mhm.
you're searching and you're trying to uncover and you become this like investigator. And this experience helped me so much to see and it actually changed my philosophy on like trauma healing because once I had that experience where I was like, oh my gosh, I was able to experience all of this healing in real time and immediately. And I'm not saying that that happens for everybody, but that was my experience. Like I left that appointment and that memory was further away.
I'm just
It
getting like
was it was so beautiful.
full
Like
body
I
chills.
left. I remember driving home from that and I was so happy. Like I
Mhm.
felt freedom,
Yeah,
and that's only gotten better since then. That was like 7 years ago.
amazing. It's amazing.
um,
Yeah.
but it changed my philosophy on like that you don't really need to keep picking at it. Like you can actually heal without uncovering all of the things, like cognitively knowing what happened.
Absolutely, because I think that's the trick of the mind that we all have,
Mhm.
which is if I know what will happen, I will be prepared, right? If I
Yes.
worry about what's going to happen, I will be prepared. If I know exactly what happened, I'll make sense of it. But we all know that insight sometimes doesn't create any type of change or any type of relief.
Yeah. It was incredibly liberating. And that just looking at things like that has been I think so helpful, like in my own personal journey, like working through challenges, even in the last couple of years where things have, happened relationally, whatever. Um, one of my episodes, I talk about being ghosted. Like, my brain wants to go, well, what happened? Like, why? And you start like trying to piece it together to understand because you think that if you understand this person or you understand what happened, that like you'll find some peace, but you don't need that.
No,
So
no, if
I've always
anything, I
come
think
back
it
to that.
spins you more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a beauty in being able to just let it go.
Yeah. And
But somatically doing that, like it
yeah.
is easier said than done.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking to how you had that EMDR session, and even after one session, you felt such a relief. I think that speaks so much to, I say this all the time, where it's about finding your medicine. Right? I
Yes.
think often we go, someone, whether it's EMDR, talk therapy, journaling, meditation, we go, well, this is supposed to be the thing. It worked for that person. It should work for me. And we stick to something for so long without feeling any type of change. And I tell people, if it's not working for you, it's not your medicine. And a lot of the time, I say, when EMDR is someone's medicine, it works so
Yeah.
fast and so effectively. Um, and so you're just a testament to that.
Yes, I love the idea that there is no one way to healing. There are so many modalities, and it is really about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Have you experienced anyone who has utilized EMDR and maybe they were at a point in their healing journey where maybe they weren't quite ready for it?
Mhm.
So like it opened up things that maybe they weren't ready for. And then how do you problem solve that?
It shows up so differently with people. I've had someone go in and they pulled out super fast. Like they actually went in and started to feel joy. So they had PTSD, they started to feel joy, and that became so overwhelming that they came out and they went, "You know what? I think I want to keep my PTSD.
Mm.
I don't know any other way to be. I recognize like that feels comfortable for me. I would rather live like this than no joy with the possibility of it going away."
That reminds me of I watched this episode. I forget what podcast it was, but it was an interview with Brene Brown, and she was talking about vulnerability and then the fear, the very real fear of joy. Like
Mhm.
how scary that actually is for someone who has lived with PTSD their whole life, maybe,
Mhm.
who's lived in fight or flight, to be able to experience joy and to be able to like allow themselves to really be in the fullness of that.
Yeah.
Like how scary that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think all of us getting used to being in pleasantness, joy, connection, these really yummy things that life have to offer. Our nervous system isn't wired for that. Our nervous system is wired to suss out danger. Like
Hmm.
we're meant to not die. That's like how we're built. Don't die. So what will kill me? And so we have to slowly integrate our comfortability with joy and presence. And it's slowly, it's bit by bit. It's like every time you hug your child, being able to hold it for a little bit and feel it in your body and feel how safe it feels, and your partner. And because you hear so many people say, like, I just want to be happy. And I'm like, I get it. You got to learn how to do that moment by moment. It's not
Yeah.
an overarching thing because it goes against our entire wiring.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is, gosh, I mean, she's a practitioner in all kinds of healing modalities. And she's always doing training. So I love, like, we'll have these conversations. And one of the things that one of her recent trainings brought up was that if if we suddenly experienced like all of the joy, all of the happiness, like our body wouldn't know what to do with that. Like it would be so overwhelmed. Like it's that you really have to prime yourself and like work up to that. So it's like it is really about these like little moments and taking them in and like feeling that in your, it's kind of like muscle memory,
Yeah.
because like you said, like we are, our nervous systems and our bodies are built to like protect us, to keep us alive, and then when you add in these other things, so it's like that really resonated with me at a time where I was working through a lot of stuff and I was like, again, like I just want to feel happy. And people would ask me like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm okay, you know? Like I'm good. Like I feel happy. I do feel happy in my life. I was very independent. But like it was just that there was a protectiveness and like, I'm okay,
Mhm.
And so we were talking about that. And I was like, I love the idea of that it really is like, it's like these little bit by bit
Yeah.
moments and being present and full of that in those moments.
Yeah. And I love there's this research that says that you can create a new neural pathway when you hold a moment for 20 full seconds. So, but you got to feel it in your body at the same time. So if you're looking
Hmm.
at a beautiful sunset, you hold that, feel it in your body for 20 seconds, and then your brain will be more inclined to go in that direction because you're creating this new neural pathway versus
Yes.
the amount of pathways we've built around worry and anxiety and what if and what happened, right? It's like that is practice. We've got that down. We don't have to do any training in that.
I know. I love the neuroscience, but I love neuroplasticity is like one of my favorite topics
Yeah.
and because it's just like, I remember when I was in my, when I was in the beginning of my MSW and I was trying to like, I was really using that as an opportunity to learn about myself, and so like I was reading about and it was like early child development, understanding, brain development and like the impact and neuroplasticity and all of that. And I'm, thinking about myself as like the younger version of me and like all of the challenges that I had to like overcome to be the person that I was, who's in grad school, who's got 2 kids, who's going through all the things that I was going through. And like one of my best friends who also she has a master's in psychology and I always love talking to her about this stuff and she'd be like, for all intents and purposes, you could have turned out very differently. And I would think about that, but I would also then mourn like what my potential might have been without those things, without those challenges and those like hard outcomes, negative outcomes. But it really like opened my eyes to our potential. Like
Mhm.
our brains are amazing. Like
Yeah.
they're these amazing supercomputers
Mhm.
and they're so smart. Like they do, like you have these pathways and they get sort of ingrained, but that doesn't mean that you can't change it.
Right.
And so it doesn't, just because you had like XY experiences and they might have, you know, impacted your brain development in some way, you can still work with that. Like and be like a fully functional, really smart, like motivated, whatever adult.
I really believe that. I was just talking to someone today where, their depression was really intense and has been, and they're working with the doctor. I'm like, well, what's the doctor doing? Nothing really. And I feel like there's almost this acceptance around mental health issues that they're fixed.
Hmm.
And I don't believe that. I've watched people make massive transformations, and again, when they find their medicine,
Yes.
it's when
And
you
I,
stop looking.
the saying, you can't teach a dog old, what is it?
Teach a
Can't
dog
teach
old
an
trick, new trick.
old dog new tricks. I don't believe that actually. Like I think I'm not sure that you can ever stop learning. I don't think you ever reach a point that you can't. I think that you have to have the will and
Mhm.
like the internal desire. Um and I think you can do that. But
Yeah.
it's an inside job. Like
Mhm.
it's got to be you. And I think you can certainly be motivated by other people in your life. Like maybe you meet somebody or you have this idea of like something, or even your children. My children have been amazing motivators for me.
Oh,
But I definitely think that I'm not sure that you ever reach a point where you're just stuck being this way, and you just should
yeah.
accept that.
Yeah, I don't. And it's interesting how you say children. I always say children and partners. They are our mirrors. They
Yeah.
will show you exactly where you need healing, and you will try to dodge that, and you will the other way, and you will be like, if he just did the dishes, I wouldn't feel this way. And it always is just going, no, 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 this is an opportunity. You're going to see something here that you wouldn't have seen before that's already there.
Yeah, that practice, understanding how everybody is a reflection, but especially our children, especially our partners,
Mhm.
and arguably like the people that are close to us, like our closest friends that, they've been around for however long or whatever, or even people that come into your life and you feel like this connection. I'm always like, there's something in that. Like, I'm going to learn something here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel that way with my clients, right? You always get someone who either is going through the exact thing that you're going through, or the thing you're about to go through, or the thing you just
Absolutely.
healed. So yeah, every person who comes into our lives is holding some type of reflection.
So when you do your EMDR sessions, do you do them in person and virtually?
I've really transitioned to virtual, and that's only because I live in Los Angeles. People don't want to drive to my office because of the traffic. And it ends up being like, 2 hours. I do have some clients where I know they're going to need some time. And so we will do in person, and I will book out like a 2 or 3 hour session. And the way that I do the EMDR is I spend, a lot of time resourcing. So a lot of time in that calm place, a lot of time with this beautiful resource team. So your nervous system feels really, really soft and strong and yummy before we go in. Because doing an EMDR session in 15 minutes is not easy.
And I'm listening to you and I'm like, I'm getting ready, because my counselor that I've worked with for all these years now, um, we transitioned to virtual,
Mhm.
and I'm getting ready to have a session with her. There's a theme that I want to work on. And I'll be honest, it's tied to like humiliation. Like for some reason, that's like really hard for me. And I'm like, I really want to explore this. And I do kind of go at it like that. Like it's an exploration. It's like a self-discovery.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do that in 50 minutes. And I'm like, but I'm like that. Like I want to just go right in and like get to
Yeah.
it.
And
But
I
I've
think
done this now a few times, and it
yeah.
definitely is like an effective modality for me.
Yeah, and you can do it in 50 minutes. Like if I've been working with a client for a while, I can do it in 50 minutes. But sometimes clients need a little more space. But I do the majority of my stuff online. So
Yeah.
how do you do it? Do you do the visual, or do you have your own buzzers? Like how do you do it?
I do sometimes I just do the tapping on my legs,
Mhm.
or like I'll do the tapping on my arms. Yeah, I'll do it
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say too, at this point, I don't think there's really anything that makes me feel unsafe like I
Mhm.
was. Like I don't know that, I remember like working through the original stuff, like the like trauma from my childhood. Like we definitely took our time with that.
Yeah.
But now it's more like my own like curiosities. And like, why is this a thing for me?
Yeah, that's what I feel like with all these modalities that yes, they're meant to like reprocess trauma or pain, but I also feel like they're so great for self-discovery.
Yeah. And I really value like personal growth, but I remain curious. I'm a curious
Mhm.
girl, I always say, you know?
Get it on the same way.
So do you want to share anything about your practice, where people might be able to find you if they have questions, anything you want to leave anybody with?
Yeah, I'm Los Angeles based, but I see everybody in California with my license. You can find me on Instagram. It's Erin and M Valente. And yeah, I think that what I want people to really take from this is if something isn't working, find a new modality, and don't accept that this is how it's going to stay and how it's always going to stay, and maybe EMDR is it and maybe it's not, but let that curiosity lead you to where your healing is.
Yeah. And I would say, like, don't be afraid to try it.
Yeah.
Especially if you are, I mean, if you struggle with like sort of like similar themes that keep coming up for you and you can't really figure out why. And especially if you've been in counseling for a while and, talking through it just isn't really, I want to say, making it go away. Like
Yeah.
it's worth a try.
Yeah. And it's not as scary as it sounds.
No, I think that's people get caught up in like, well, what is that? And they don't
Yeah.
understand. And I've had this conversation with so many people, but it's like, it's actually, you're just really working with your brain
Mhm.
and your body and your nervous system and your memory. And
Mhm.
it's like you're able to show up for yourself, but with someone holding your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate your time today. Love this conversation. And I will put the link to your Instagram and everybody can find you. And if anybody has any questions or anything, please come check us out.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of All the Things.